Evening all, Chief Prepper here. I'm going to do several videos over the next couple days. I just watched one from Magic Prepper. He actually, for somebody who probably has never carried a plate carrier or done anything, he actually has a lot of his stuff set up pretty well. So, do one on a plate carrier, I'm going to do one on the helmet, do one on the weapons. The helmet, I got to find it. Mine's it's hiding. Bought it a while ago and put it together and stuffed it somewhere. So one of the things you need to know is your physical limitations. And you say, why do I say that? I said, well, when I went to war the first time in 2003, 2004, I was in my early 30s. And, my ability to absorb and deal with harsh conditions was completely different than the second time I went. 2009-10, so I was in my late 30s, early 40s when that happened, and I retired from the Army when I was 44. All the times I went to Iraq, I was running about 200 pounds. We'll call it 235 right now. I haven't got on the scale in a while. I'm type 2 diabetic. I sweat like a whore in church, so I have to take salt pills. So I already know that operating Texas heat is a problem. You need to know your limitations. If you know your limitations, then you know what you need to work on because you know where you're deficient. So sometimes that will make you the smartest person. Yes, I got notes. I'm old. I can't remember shit. So Magic Prepper mentioned he's running ceramic plates. Did not say if they're steel reinforced. I'm bringing this up because I did point it out in the comments I made, but ceramic plates are prone to cracking if you drop them on their edge for any reason. If you drop them on the edge and they're not steel reinforced and they crack, then it makes the bulletproofness ineffective. Basically, it won't do you any good. The bullet will punch right through if it hits a crack. So even though things like AR-500 plates are much heavier, you don't have to worry about them being defective because you dropped them for some reason, and you'd be surprised why you would drop them. If you spend any amount of time in them, when you take them off, you get heavy and they tend to go thunk on the ground. So your plate carrier will be heavier automatically if you get the steel plates. Just an FYI, if you're not wearing your steel plate carrier or your plate carrier with its stuff loaded out all the time, during a shit hits the fan event, the first month is going to be very, very uncomfortable, regardless of outside temperature. So there's some things you need to understand that you don't know. There are typically 3 levels of intensity when it comes to conflict. High intensity is when you're in contact with the enemy. Medium intensity is when you're moving around on the battlefield and contact with the enemy is of a high likelihood or chance. Low intensity, which is where most of the wars are spent, are where you're inside some kind of secure location. In Iraq, both times I was there, it was a FOB. Now, secure is a relative term because we used to get indirect fire all the time. So why am I bringing that up? Unless you're out on patrol, unless you're expecting a firefight or you know something's going to happen, you're probably not going to wear your plate carrier all the time. So that's why I'm going to be doing a video on a plate carrier, and then maybe you wear an old Alice system. Or a hunting vest. They have things that are very cool, or that allows you to carry stuff. So you might want to wear the hunting vest and the Alice combat system when you're, kind of working around your area. And then when you go out on patrol, you might want to wear your plate carrier. And Magic Prepper runs a plate carrier and a belt. He mentioned that sometimes you might not wear both, and there's no requirement. That's a very personal system, personal decision as well. If you're worried about IDF attacks, rockets and mortar attacks, the military went to different versions of helmets. When I started out in the late 80s, we were wearing the steel pot that they had been using during Vietnam, and then about a year and a half later we transitioned to the Kevlar helmet, which is what I wore the first time I went to Iraq, and then the second time I went I wore the Mitch helmet. Mitch and the Kevlar are great protectors of your melon. They will stop an AK round. Special operators wear a helmet that exposes their ears. You might say, why do I say that? Well, it allows them to wear comms, muffins, the things that go over your earmuff type things, even though they're in a helmet. Sometimes the tankers would have that stuff too. So, why am I talking about this? Well, if you have an IDF attack, your eardrums will grow back. You just won't ever hear as well as you're used to. But if your eardrums are blown, there's a decent chance you're going to get other things. You're going to have shrapnel damage. So all of these helmets that I mentioned above, the Vietnam steel pot, the Kevlar, the Mitch, special operators, they all have to be fitted. They can't just be, it's not just to wear them. It's like getting fitted for a motorcycle helmet. There's rules that apply, like you don't want gaps, you don't want the helmet banging around on top of your head during whatever happens. You want to wear clothing that blends into your environment, especially during the day, and you want to wear dark clothing at night. It's less noticeable. So, if you're peeking at someone, you want to not profile yourself, i.e. don't stand up above the ridge line on any hills or hilltops. And if you're using some kind of device like a scope or binos or some kind of monocular system, realize that it can catch the reflection of the sun and give away your position. So now we're going to move into my two weapons, and I'm going to talk about what's on it and why. Only because Magic Prepper did his, and there are things he had on his that I don't have on mine, and I do have on mine that he doesn't have on his. So, I run a Nikon BDC scope. That's a 4x12, which some people will say is a lot. But if you have a choice of shooting someone at 300 yards or 400 yards and 50 yards, I want the longer distance option. I have an O-light with a momentary switch. I touch it and stays on. I have a red light, and then I have a Crimson Chase laser, and then the built-in bipod, so in case you didn't see the laser. And then a sling. That's my 223 platform. This is my 308. It's a DPMS LR 308 16-inch barrel. Both the rifles have quad rails. Some people might say, why a quad rail instead of M-LOK? M-LOK flexes, quad rails do not. So that's important. Again, laser. It's red. Red weapons light. And I have a Surefire white light. And then on this one I am running a Nikon 6x18. And they're BDC reticles. And of course a sling. Some of you might say, why a red light? When during a shit hits the fan event, you may be hunting. You may be hunting at night, so you want a red light because it lights up animals' eyes. You may want a white light to verify what you're shooting at. Just realize both lights give your position away. The white light can be seen up to a mile away in the dark, especially if it goes up in the air. The laser will also give away your position, as in it will tell someone where you're at if they know what they're doing. But the laser allows you to use no light. My lasers are set at the crosshairs and my weapons are zeroed at 100 yards. So realistically, I can engage targets out to 100 yards without turning